What is up, you guys? It's your favorite cutie Mel back again on my Self-Pause channel to give you guys yet another video. And today we are back for chapter 6 of All About Love by Bell Hooks. This chapter is titled Values, Living by a Love Ethic. So let's just hop right into the video. Thank you guys so much for your patience as I move on with this series. Okay, we must live for the day and work for the day. When human society realigns itself with the radical love of God in a truly democratic paradigm, there is no love of power for power's sake. That quote is from Marianne Williamson. A love ethic presupposes that everyone has the right to be free, to live fully and well. Eric Fromm affirms that important and radical changes are necessary if love is to become a social and not a highly individualistic marginal phenomenon. Individuals choose to love, can and do alter our lives in ways that honor the primacy of love ethic. We do this by choosing work. We do this by choosing to work with individuals we admire and respect, by committing to give our all to relationships, by embracing a global vision wherein we see our lives and our fate as intimately connected to those of everyone else on the planet. So I really love this. And I feel like, just like anything, if something is important to you, that means that you value it. So basically, I guess this this first passage is kind of just referring to what would be necessary for our society as a whole to embrace love and like what that would look like. So I really like the last passage because I feel like part of the problems that we have are because we're not seeing everything as connected to us. So I feel like that goes to like loving the planet and how we have issues with, abusing the planet and all the pollution and the disregard for Mother Nature, not seeing nature as connected to us and a part of us. And then also just even with other people, I think that whether it's about race or whatever, for some reason, we have been socially conditioned for the most part to see others as separate from ourselves. And if we cannot relate to certain things or certain issues, then we feel like maybe it's not our problem. And I feel like that directly kind of correlates with love, especially in like a heteronormative kind of way, because it's just like, so if a man is deeply rooted in like patriarchal views, he doesn't see himself the same as a woman in most cases. Like a lot of men who think like that see women as beneath them in some way, weaker, so they feel like they should be more dominant. And because they're not seeing women as an extension of themselves, or just sometimes even just as human beings with feelings who deserve respect, that can really like affect the love that's possible between men and women specifically. So I felt like that was important. Let's see, let's move on to the next. So then I highlighted, but then I talked about the necessity of changing our thinking so that we see ourselves as being like the one who does change rather than among those who refuse change. So basically she's talking about how she was talking to a group of people and how sometimes the reason why change actually isn't happening is because that we are taking on the thinking of, oh, that will never change. So like when people say, oh, sexism will never change, racism will never change, even though a lot of people will say, oh, well, this should be better, these issues should be different, we shouldn't have these issues. In order for society to actually change, as individually, we all have to become a person who believes that change is possible and who is also willing to change our beliefs and do the work so that it can be changed, because society is a collection of all of us. So if all of us, or the majority of us, have this belief that, oh, this can't be different, it's impossible for men and women to be equal. It's impossible for sexism to not exist. It's impossible for racism not to exist. Just by holding that belief, you are a part of the problem, because you're not even, if you don't even believe it's possible, you're definitely not doing the work. I'm just going to say that. You're definitely not doing the work if you don't feel like it's possible, because it takes everybody. It takes the village. It takes the thinking of each person to shift in a way so that things can happen. And then she goes on to talk about why certain things don't happen, and how radical change is possible, and it happens all the time, but usually it's just forced on people. So then she talks about let's see, the next passage that I had highlighted is, there is a gap between the values they claim to hold and their willingness to do the work of connecting thought and action, theory and practice, to realize these values and thus create a more just society. So that kind of just sums up everything that I'm just saying. So it's just like, most people can agree that, oh, you know, domestic violence is not good and da-da-da, but yet it still happens in our society. And, you know, people need to be willing to do the work and understand why things are happening so that they can make actions towards change. Okay, fear of radical changes leads many citizens of our nation to betray their minds and hearts. Yet we are all subjected to radical changes every day. We face them by moving through fear. These changes are usually imposed by the status quo. For example, revolutionary new technologies has led us all to accept computers. Our willingness to embrace this unknown shows that we are all capable of confronting fears of radical change, that we can cope. Yeah, so radical change happens every day. New things happen every single day. Some people just are more moved through fear, and I kind of feel like that's kind of connected to how the media plays a role in making changes in society, and usually by like fear mongering. For example, who would have ever thought before COVID that the whole world could shut down and that people would be, you know, made to stay in their homes in this day and age? I don't think that if anybody was to be told that that was going to happen, that they would believe it. But through fear, people were moved to make radical changes because they were fearing certain illnesses and, you know, passing away from catching said illnesses. That moved people to change and to see the world in a new way that they probably wouldn't have otherwise if the fear wasn't present. So basically, she's just saying that, like, a radical change can happen. It's just a matter of people starting to embrace that thinking and not always having to be moved through fear in order to make radical changes in our lives and to take actions and to stop betraying ourselves. Like, for example, if everybody in the world decided that we were going to get paid better and that, you know, everyone deserved to live a certain life and deserved a certain standard of living, just by the sheer numbers alone, things would have to change. If everyone in the world said, I'm not going to go to work until I'm able to pay my bills with ease, you know what? Things would have to happen, you know, but it takes a certain, like, people have to believe that certain things are possible. If someone's to mention and say that, oh yeah, it's totally possible for everyone to live in a nice home and for everybody's bills to be paid and for everybody to go to work, whatever their field is, whether it's fast food or whether it's a corporate office, and everybody can live and survive in a way that, not even survive, but thrive, a lot of people will look at you like you're crazy, like, no, that's not possible. But if everybody knew how possible radical change really was, more people would stop betraying themselves and overworking to make a living and start doing what really made them happy, and the world as a whole could demand that be possible, and it could be possible. Okay, let's see. Society must be organized in such a way that a man's social, loving nature is not separated from his social existence, but becomes one with it. To have faith in the possibility of love as a social and not only exceptional individual phenomenon is a rational faith based on the insight of the very nature of man. Faith enables us to move past fear. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. So then that's a really cool passage, because then she goes on to talk about how when she first heard the passage, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. She talked about how for a while it just didn't seem possible, because when we think of love, we think of something that's already perfect. You know, for lack of better words, I know it's not good to use the word in the definition, but something that's already right, something that's already 100%, like, you know. So then she says, let's see, I'm going to rewind just so that this makes sense. Taught to believe that this is the understanding of what it means to be perfect was also out of reach, out of human reach. That we were of necessity essentially human because we were not perfect, but we're always bound by mystery of the body, by our limitations. This call to know a perfect love disturbed me. It seemed a worthy calling, but impossible. That is until I looked for a deeper, more complex understanding of the word perfect. Found definition emphasizing the will to refine. Love as a process that has been refined, alchemically altered as it moves from state to state, is that perfect love that can cast out fear. As we love, fear necessarily leaves. Contrary to the notion that one must work to attain perfection, this outcome does not have to be struggled for. It just happens. It is the gift perfect love offers. So basically, I really like this because I'm finding in my own personal relationships that being perfect in a conventional sense of, like, having everything right, doing everything right, is not really attainable, and perfection in general, in the way that we conventionally think about it, is not really attainable because, we're all a work in process. So I really like this take on, like, perfection being like the willingness to refine, because even though I'm not going to be able to show up and do every single thing right in every interaction, or maybe I'm not always going to be able to show up in a perfect loving way in a sense that I never make mistakes, but I do very much have the will and the want to refine continuously, to give someone and to give myself the gift of love. So I like that because it just makes it feel more realistic to know that, real love and perfect love is just the willingness to learn and be open and to change. And I feel like that is real love, because just to be transparent, like in the last relationship that I had, I feel like I did a lot of things wrong. And I wasn't perfect, and it definitely revealed a lot in me that still needs to be worked on. And it revealed a lot in me that, still needed to be healed. However, I always continued to show up willing and open to learn and to refine and to become better, not just for that person, but for myself. So I feel like I'm definitely in real love with life and in love in general. I feel good about that. I really feel good about that. This was very encouraging. So let's see. There is no fear in love. Fear keeps us from trusting in love. Cultures of domination rely on cultivation of fear as a way to ensure obedience. In our society, we make much of love and say little about fear. And then the last thing, this isn't the last thing. So I'm just going to keep reading until I feel the need to expound. When we are taught that safety lies within sameness, then difference of any kind will appear to be a threat. The choice to love is the choice to connect, to find ourselves in the other, which I feel like just ties back to the beginning, where it talks about being able to see yourself in others and know that we're all connected and everything is connected. Any disease of the soul must be conquered by a turning of one's soul. This turning is done through one's own affirmation of one's worth, an affirmation fueled by the concern of others. I like this because it kind of just taps into my belief in manifestation, and just like how with anything, like, you can't change anything without first changing it within yourself. Like, if you want to become different, you must first, get rid of your old self and let that old version of yourself die and become a new version of yourself, so that you can birth a new reality, you can birth a new outcome. So I highlighted that because I just felt like it resonated. Embracing a love ethic means we utilize all dimensions of love: care, commitment, trust, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. Being aware enables us to critically examine our actions to see what is needed so that we can give care, be responsible, show respect, and indicate a willingness to learn. Understanding knowledge as an essential element of love is vital because we are daily bombarded with messages that tell us that love is about mystery, about which cannot be known. I really like this passage because, I think a lot of us, and I know sometimes even in my last relationship especially, I felt like the person that I was dating was like threatened when I would go and get knowledge or seek knowledge from other places in order to apply it to our relationship. But that's very necessary because knowledge is important, because without new knowledge, you're just going to continue to do what you've always done, which isn't always yielding results. So that's important. It's really a lifestyle. And then also, I like how this passage talks about needing to be aware, because if you're not aware, you're not going to see in the ways that you're not being loving. You're not going to see the ways that you're not being caring. You're not going to see the ways that maybe you're not being respectful to yourself or others. You must first become aware in order to change anything. And once you do become aware, it's important to be open to new knowledge so that you can apply it and find what works for you so that you can become more of love. Let's see. Then it goes on to talk about how, like, the reason why this is such an issue most of the time, like just in general, not knowing what real love is like, is because of media, like not in music, but yeah, in music too, but also in like movies and just mass media. What's shown to us isn't actually love. So then I highlighted profiteering producers do not really know how to genuinely portray loving interaction. Were we collectively to demand that our mass media portray images that reflect love's reality, it would happen. Because our image makers have more intimate knowledge of these realities than they have with realities of love. We all know what violence looks like. So she was just talking about how, like, violence and, domination and stuff like that is shown more in media. And just patriarchy in general, and those kind of dynamics are what is shown to us in mass media for the most part. So if those producers were more invested in like knowing true love and portraying it, it would make a huge difference. But then she also talks about how most people that are in power are, probably, white old men who uphold the patriarchy. So that explains that. Let's see. So basically, we are all affected by the images that we consume and by the state of mind we are in when watching them. If consumers want to be entertained and the images shown us as entertaining images are violent, dehumanization, it makes sense that these acts become more acceptable in our daily lives. So basically, she's just saying that, yeah, if you see something all the time, even if you fundamentally know it's not right, when you see something and you're exposed to something a lot, you accept it to be like, oh, well, this is just the way it is, basically. Vast majority of images we see are created from a patriarchal standpoint. Patriarchy, like any system of domination, for example, racism, relies on socializing everyone to believe that in all human relations, there is an inferior and a superior party. One person is strong, the other weak. And that is therefore natural for the powerful to rule over the powerless, which it just makes sense. It just makes sense. A lot of this stuff I feel like intrinsically we feel, but I just like how she puts it in words. Last thing that I want to highlight is those of us who already have chosen to embrace a love ethic, allowing it to govern and inform how we think and act, know that when we let our light shine, we draw to us and are drawn to other bearers of light. We are not alone. So I feel like some of this chapter, it makes you feel like kind of hopeless that things will change. But I feel like if you are able to change certain things in your life and change how you look at love, how you approach love, and like what you expose yourself to as real love, what you accept as real love, inevitably, like there are other people who take on these beliefs and value love, and you will attract those people into your life. So even if it takes another 200 years, 100 years, 50 years for things to change and be more loving wherever we are in this world, then that's okay, because just by making the choice individually and knowing that change is possible in your mind, you are becoming the new society. You are becoming a society that believes in love, because it starts with each and every one of us starting to look at ourselves and where we're unconscious and where we're accepting things that are not good for us, not healthy for us, not loving, and just becoming more aware how important that is. So that is my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys like this series, continue please to watch them, give it a thumbs up, and I will also leave all the links down below if you want to purchase this book for yourself, so you don't have to wait on me to show up and talk about each chapter. You could just buy the book off of Amazon. It's very cheap. It's under $20. So as always, you guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure to support me by getting your Be My Lover bracelets and keychains if you feel so called to do so, with the links down below in my description. As always, stay posh and stay cute, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Mwah.